Hi there, welcome back. This is week 5, our last week of this project. So let's do a little recap and bring us up to speed so we can all jump into week 5 on the same page. So week 1, we talked about this problem we have. So I'm going to be throwing a wedding anniversary party for my parents, and I need to write a budget so I can see how many people can afford to come. So that was slide 1, week 1. Then week 2, we looked at 2 different options. You remember we had Courtyard Villa that had a flat rate of $19.50 and then a $27.50 per person for the food. And then we also had Mediterranean Villa, $12.50 flat rate and then $32.50 per person. That was week 2. And then also week 2, we went and did slide 3. And this is where we wrote the 2 equations, right? So on slide 3 of your project, that's where your equations are. Now, just a side note, let me say that if your project is kind of not working out, you are welcome to go back to slide 3, fix your equations so that they're more like mine, and then proceed with week 5. I think that is something that's going to help you since week 2 has already been graded. You could just go to week 5 and now make some changes to slide 3 if you need to, okay? Then in week 3, we went to Desmos. We made tables, so it was super easy. We snipped them or we inserted a table here in PowerPoint. That was super fun. And then in week 4, last week, we went into Desmos and we found the intersection of the 2 lines. And then we also explained what that solution meant. Okay, so now we're ready for week 5. And week 5 is where we're actually going to do the math to find our solution. Wait a minute, we've already found the solution back in week 4. That's right. We found the solution in week 4 on Desmos. Now in week 5, we're actually going to do the math to find the solution. Okay, so I've made 3 columns here to help you with the process. So in column 1, we're solving for 1 variable. So in my equation, I had the Courtyard Villa was y equals 1950 plus 2750x. Now, what I want you to know is when we say solve for 1 variable, that means we want 1 variable all by itself. So you notice how the y is on one side of the equation, it's all by itself. That means it's done. That means that we have already, and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so it's easier to see, we have already solved for 1 variable. So if you've been making your equations like the example, you're on track here. Okay, so we wanted 1 variable all by itself. Now we go to column 2. What we're going to do is we're going to take the other equation. So in column 1, we use the y equals 1950 plus 27.5x. So in column 2, I'm going to use the other equation, which looks like this. Let me make it a little bit bigger like I did in the other one. Okay, now we are going to substitute. So let me color code this so it'll be easy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, the 1950 plus 27.5x, and I'm going to put it in place of this y. Okay? So let me go to the next line. So instead of y, I'm going to type in 1950 plus 2750x, and then I've got the rest of the stuff. I don't know if I'm going to run out of room. I might run out of room there. Let me see if I can get them all on the same line here. Make it easier to see. No? Okay, we'll just do it like that. But notice what I did was I kept, instead of the y on this side, I put in the 1950 plus 27.5x, okay? All right, and now we get to solve. So here's the tricky part. I'm going to move the 1250, okay? You might say, Dr. May, how are you going to do that? I'm going to show you. I'm going to subtract the 1250 from this side of the equation. And I got to subtract it from both sides of the equation. So now let's do the 1950 minus 1250. Let me highlight that. I'm going to do that. And that's 700. You can check that in your calculator. And then notice the 1250 minus 1250. Well, we know that's 0. So I've got 32.5x. I just moved the 1250 to the left side by subtracting. Okay. Next thing, I'm going to move the 27.5x. And how am I going to do that? You guessed it. I'm going to subtract it just like we did the 1250. But I got to do it from both sides. 27.5x. Okay, so let's do the 27.5x minus the 27.5x, which gives me 0 again. So I just have 700 left on this side. And then let's do the 32.5x minus the 27.5x, which gives me 5x. Okay, if you want to put that on one line, you can make it smaller. That would be easier to see. Okay, last step then. I got to get rid of the 5. And I'm going to do this one not by subtracting. This one I do by dividing. I do that because the 5 is being multiplied times the x. So 700 divided by 5, it's going to give me 140 equals x. Column 2 is now done. Okay. Column 3 says substitute to find the second variable. So you'll notice we found out what x is. Now we got to go find out what y is. So I'm going to borrow this equation from column 1. Just a side note, if you want to use the other equation, that's fine too. And I'm going to put 140 in place of x. So I got y equals 1950 plus 2750, and then we're doing times 140. Okay, so you're going to go in your calculator now, and you're going to do 2750 times 140. Pulling my calculator here, super easy. I've got 2750 times 140, and that gives me, I got y equals 1950 plus, and that gives me 3850. And then I'm going to add the 1950 to it, and that gives me 5800. Now here's the side note, okay? I get my solution as 140, 5800. This should be the same answer you got back on slide 5 in week 4. So you should get the same answer on this slide for week 5 that you got on slide 5 for week 4. All right? Hey, friends, this has been a lot of fun putting this project all together. I hope you're seeing the connections. Do as much as you can on this part of the project. I think you're going to find that it is super helpful. Also, don't forget, in this project, we have put a picture on every single slide. So please make sure that you put some kind of picture in this slide as well. I'm going to just do a picture if we can get some kind of party, maybe some balloons. And that looks fun. Yeah, it doesn't even have to be huge, although I do like my balloons to be a little bit bigger. There you go. All right, my friends, I hope this has been helpful. Thanks so much for hanging in there and watching all the way to the end. I'll be seeing you later. Bye-bye.